Alright guys, here we are out in the garage. Whew. Ooh, it's a bit chilly out there, and that's why I'm making this video. I was driving around. I was actually doing some fly fishing up north this weekend. There was some snow coming down and there was ice around. There's even ice around down by me where I live, and it's early, so kind of getting people in the mood. I've had a lot of people that have asked me to make this video, and I've always wanted to do it like at the beginning of the season, so we're doing it this year. This is going to be the video of all of my ice fishing gear, everything that I use to go out on the lake, catch some fish, and you can see it's a lot. Like, I got way too much stuff, but the thing is, I use about 95% of this stuff every single time I go. The clothing that I wear, other products like that. We're going to talk about, you know, how we get out on the ice, what we use for shelters, how we actually catch the fish, all of that stuff, flashers. So stay tuned, should be a good video. I'm going to try to link everything that I can down in the description below. A lot of this stuff also, like this suit that I'm wearing, the snowmobile, the flip over shack, the auger, all that stuff. I've made videos on that stuff kind of separately as it is. So go through my channel and try to find some of those. I will try to also link those videos down in the description below so you can find the detailed reviews of those products. But this will be just an overview of what I use every year ice fishing. So we're going to start out with what we actually wear, because I'm wearing it right now and I want to take it off. It's hot out here. We got the heater going. So this is the Clam Ascend suit. Now this is I believe a couple-year-old model now, but they still make one similar to it. I made a video on this. I made a couple videos on this actually, and it's a really good suit. I like it a lot. One thing that I did is I took the liner out of it, just so it's not as bulky, and I actually tested this suit in a video where I jumped in the water. It floated even without that liner. If you can afford it, a float suit is like, especially if you're fishing early ice and late ice, it's a little peace of mind. It might give you, you know, an extra few minutes in the water there to kind of, you know, get yourself out, and it might be a difference between life and death. So it's waterproof and you can stand up there in the rain. It's just, I don't know, it's just awesome. I beat the heck out of this thing. It's got padded knees, padded butt, so if you're on the ground jigging all the time on your knees, you know, your knees get pretty sore if you're doing that for all day on hard ice. So good thing to have. So I'm gonna take this off because it's getting hot in here. While I'm doing that, the gloves that I wear, I don't have those here. I don't actually know where those are. I think they're still in the basement, but the gloves that I wear are also Clam. They're ice armor gloves, and it's the thick ones that they have. I'll link those down below. Super nice gloves, waterproof, and really, really warm. So I've had these boots for a season and a half, and these ones, pop this off, are the Muck Boot Arctic Pro, I believe is what they are. They'll be linked down in the description below. You can see they've been used a lot. And you know, when I bought these, I was really, really skeptical because they're so light. So much lighter than those Swamp Trackers that I had. And I was a little bit skeptical that they weren't going to be warm enough, but I'm telling you right now, these things work better than the Swamp Trackers. I have not been cold on the ice with these once, and I've been using them for a year and a half, and I've been out in some really cold stuff. So definitely recommend checking these boots out. We got a Vibram sole in there. They're super comfortable, waterproof all the way up to the top, and they're super light. You can't go wrong with these boots at all. When you don't have a lot of snow on the ice and there's not much traction, you're slipping and sliding around, the best thing to get is a pair of ice cleats. I'm not going to say that these are the best ones, but they're pretty good. They're a lot better than the cheapo ones that stretch over your boot and fall off all the time. These are stable icers, so you got to get the right size for your boot. They velcro around your boot, hook on there. They got nice sturdy sole on there with some heavy duty like sheet metal heads on there that really grab the ice, and these things are a lifesaver sometimes when you're out on glare ice. So next thing that we'll talk about is how we are mobile, or how we get out onto the ice and get to a bunch of different fishing spots. So here's the trailer that I use for ice fishing. We also use this for snowmobiling, you know, when we go trail riding and stuff, but this is a hybrid trailer made by Nitro, and it's all aluminum. It's a pretty nice little trailer. Fits 2 snowmobiles, but it'll fit the Panther on one side and the Otter Shack on the other perfectly. So I also lined it with some plywood this year to keep it from getting banged up a little bit. And yeah, it's a pretty nice little lightweight little snowmobile trailer. I think it's about a 12-footer. So for a few years there, I was just using a utility trailer that was an open trailer. And the Panther saw a lot of salt and snow and stuff and started to rust out in a few places. Some squeaky wheels, some squeaky suspension. So we got this and she rides cozy in the nasty stuff. I made a specific video on this sled a couple years ago that goes over it in depth. But basically, it's just an old Arctic Cat that I picked up a few years back. And we did some mods to it. We put an auger rack on here that I built myself. I get a lot of questions on that. It's not something you can buy. I built it myself. It's removable. You pull these pins out and the whole unit comes off, and that way you can flip the hood up. And I carry my ice auger like that. It's a nice 2-up, like I said. I got the nice tall windshield on here. And the best thing is the Hummingbird. So this is the same unit that we use on the boat in the summer, in the spring and the summer. And what we do is just pop it off, and we have a little battery pack in here that plugs into this, and now we can use the same GPS unit. We can mark spots in the spring and the summer, and we can go and find them in the winter with the snowmobile and ice fish those spots. So it's a super handy thing to have. If you have a fish finder in your boat, I mean, this is so simple to do. You can do this with any GPS unit. The other thing that we put on here, and this is going to be upgraded this year, I'll probably do a video on it because this thing got busted up pretty good last year, is this crate system here. This just carries a lot of stuff. If we don't want to use a sled or something, we're just going hole hopping, we'll throw the Vexlar in there, a couple rods on top, and we'll head out. And that way we don't have to have a trailer behind us or anything like that, and it just lifts right up. Put our bait bucket in there, whatever we want. We can even fit some jack traps in there. And it's super handy, but we're gonna have to rebuild it this year because it broke in a few places, and I didn't really do that good of a job. I should have probably made this a little bit stronger. So we'll fix that. In the early season, if we're not using the snowmobile and there's not that much ice, we're dragging around the jet sled. This sled right here is unbelievably tough. I have the Hyfax runners on there, which makes it really easy to pull if you're going across you know, a boat ramp that has pavement or anything like that, and it pulls a lot better behind the snowmobile and just protects it, doesn't wear out as much, but it's a nice sturdy sled. And we pull that with a big ass rope here. I got a big long rope, put it around your waist and just trek out across the lake, and that's what we use early season. We just stuff all our stuff in there. We have the trailer hitch here. This is the heavy duty jet sled trailer hitch that if we want to haul it with the snowmobile, which we do quite often, all we do is we hook it on these 2 eye bolts here, and then it clips to the trailer hitch on the snowmobile, and then we can haul it across the lake. And one thing I definitely recommend you do if you're hauling an open sled like this is get a cover that fits it, because if you cover that thing up and keep the snow and slush out of there when you're hauling it, it's going to be 10 times better for your gear. You're not going to get loaded up with snow. And I've seen so many guys get buried out there because their sled fills up with slush and snow on a really crappy day. If it's a crappy day and we have a lot of ice, we use the Otter here, the Otter flip over. This is the Otter Lodge X-Over flip over shack. It's the biggest one that they make. The thing is an absolute tank, and it's just massive. I have it. It's actually backwards right now. This is the hitch here, but I did a whole video on this exact sled here, this shack. So I'm not going to go into depth, but that's the shack that we use. I picked it up last year, used at an unbelievably good price, so I had to get it. I didn't want that big of a model because it's just a behemoth, but I mean, I had to get it. It was such a good deal, so we picked it up. The other shack is the Eskimo Quick Fish, which is just a hub shelter, and you probably have seen those if you've ice fished enough. And I actually haven't even used this probably the last 2 years because later in the season we just end up popping this up. Early in the year it's not that cold out. I might have used it once last year, I can't remember, but it's a pretty easy little thing just to throw on your shoulders. See, it's got a back strap on there, and then or you can layer it in the sled and pull it out. We use pack baskets up here. So this is a pack basket. It's kind of funny that you don't really see a lot of these anywhere else but Maine and maybe New England areas, but This is a luring pack basket, super nice. It's actually, the original ones are made of wood that you'll see, but this one is made out of plastic. And there's videos of guys running these things over with F-150s and stuff, and they're super durable. So what we do with that is we just throw it over our shoulder there, put our tip ups, a couple rods in there, bring the hand dogger, just walk out and start fishing. So that's basically what we use that for. I don't usually use this very much anymore because it's heavy, it adds a lot of weight, it adds a lot of bulk when I'm trying to pack stuff up. This is the bag here that I've sort of replaced my pack basket with. I got this from Jack Traps. The good thing about the luring pack baskets though, you have a tip up like this, they have sleeves inside of this bag, which you can put your trap right inside of that sleeve. I'll try to get this in here, show you guys. They have sleeves in there that go all around, and it sits right in there and leaves the middle open, so your traps aren't banging against each other, you're not beating them all up and stuff. But like I said, I kind of stopped using that because it's so heavy and bulky. These are also sort of something you don't really see anywhere but like New England or Maine area, is an older, like the original like tip-up style here. So this is made by Jack Traps. There's a big controversy on what's better, Jack Traps or Heritage Traps. You know, who cares? It's a tip-up. They all work great. They all catch fish. I like Jack Traps. I just kind of like the fit and finish of them, and they're super rugged. And they have a hair trigger on there, so there's no tension on the spool. Don't get wind flags. Yeah, they're just great. So they make a whole bunch of different stuff, and they're a Maine company. One product that we've been using for a lot of years are these Maine Pro Series reel wraps. Super handy thing to have. What they are is a wrap that goes around your hook. You wrap it around your line, and that way everything doesn't come all unspooled on you, and it still allows your line to dry at the end of the day. Super nice product. We always use these. Just keeps things contained. I've built these bags here. You can also buy these from Jack Traps. I built my own. It's cheaper. And I just stick them in there so they don't get beat up as much. Slide them into my bag. So on these tip-ups, it has a Dacron line on here. You can see the green. It's like a braided line. And I run this one's got, must have been fishing deep for lake trout on this, but it's got a long length of fluorocarbon, whatever pound you want, whatever you think you might need for fighting whatever size fish you're going after, and then some split shot, and then your hook. I use these Gamakatsu octopus hooks. I've been using them for years, and I don't think I would ever use anything else. They're just a great hook to use. With the tip-ups, the other thing that we sometimes use, and I got this last year, I actually won it in a derby, it's the jaw jacker. So it's basically a auto hook setting device, so you can use a fishing rod, an ice rod. You kind of set this up, you put your rod in there, and then it goes off, sets the hook on the rod, you run over and you get to fight the fish on the rod, which is a ton of fun. I might try to do, maybe we'll try to get another one of these this year and just do a straight jaw jacker video, just catching trout on these things, because they're a ton of fun, but you gotta have the right day for it, because if it's super cold, it just doesn't, it's not conducive to open face reels and stuff on these when it's super cold and windy and crappy out. So also on my bag, something that I bring, especially early ice, is a rescue rope here. Haven't had to use it yet, luckily, but you can just unclip it from the bag here, and you hold one end of the rope, throw the bag out to your buddy who might have fallen through the ice, and that way you can pull them back in. It's, you know, you don't really think of bringing something like that, but these things are so cheap, like $20. I mean, just get one and have it with you, especially if you're doing early or late ice. It could save your life or your buddy's life. I've also gone through my fair share of skimmers. Man, I busted a lot of them. I've had mostly metal ones that I've had problems with. So I picked this thing up quite a while ago. It's the Little Dipper. They have a couple different sizes of these, but I use this one. It's a Little Dipper. It's a wood handle with a pretty thick and flexible plastic. And this thing, just like the metal ones, it will ice up. But all you have to do, you can bang this thing on the ground, and the ice just, you know, it flexes out, the ice cracks right off, and this thing doesn't break. It's under, I've smashed this thing out in, you know, negative degrees, temperatures. Most durable thing ever. I have a buddy that actually saw me beating the crap out of this thing one day, and he goes, I need one of those, so he bought it like the next day. But there it is. These are the two things that we'll carry out with us. We got a hand chisel here, which isn't necessarily for chipping the holes. It's mostly for going along and checking the ice. So you want to walk out a few feet, chip the ice, see how many wax stakes to get through, see if it's safe enough. If it is, keep going, keep hitting the ice, keep walking out. And that's just a safety thing to check the ice. You can chip holes with it, although why would you do that if you have a hand auger? So I have this Eskimo silver tip hand auger that I've had for a very long time. She's been beat pretty hard, but see, she's busted up a little bit. But this right here, this is a 6-inch auger, hand auger. This thing works great for early ice. Even later in the year, you can drill through 20 inches of ice with this if you want to. Obviously the 6-inch is going to work way easier. It's going to be a lot easier to drill than the 8-inch. So I would recommend getting a 6-inch hand auger, especially if you're going for like trout and panfish. You don't need an 8-inch. If you live in an area that doesn't get a lot of ice, this might be all you need all year round. I used to always carry with me a gas auger. I had a Jiffy auger, and it worked great. The thing cut flawlessly. It was awesome. But the downfalls of the gas augers are they're mechanical, and you know, it's an engine. You're mixing gas, you're dealing with that. Things get flooded, they don't start, and they're super heavy. I think they're like 30 something pounds. So we got done with that. I had some problems with it over, you know, when you carry it in the sled and out to the fishing spot, they get beat up pretty hard. So what we did, I think this will be my 4th year with this. I picked up a K-drill, and this is the 8-inch K-drill. Weighs 11 pounds, and it's almost just as light as that hand auger, so I pretty much bring this everywhere I go. And have not changed the blades out on it. It still cuts just as good as it did the day I bought it. You can drill up even that late ice with this. 24 inches of ice, no problem. It's got plastic flights, a chipper blade, and I run this with a Milwaukee M18 fuel hammer drill. You have to use the brushless hammer drills with these, or you're just going to blow your drill up. So that's what we got there. And in the summer, all you gotta do is take the drill off, and then you get a nice drill to use, you know, during the summer for construction projects. So this thing works pretty sweet. I don't know why anyone these days would ever buy, if you're gonna buy a brand new auger, why you would buy a gas auger or even a propane auger. I can drill holes all day long in 3 batteries. I don't know why you would ever own a gas auger. Electric is just better. Changed my mind. Once the shack is up, this guy right here, man, this thing's looking pretty sad. This is the buddy heater. I'm sure you guys have seen this if you've been in the ice fishing game at all. This is the buddy heater here. I don't know how, but it's still working. You can see it split there, and I JB welded it back together. I've had this for a number of years, and it's honestly, I'm surprised it still works, but at the same time I'm not. It's a hell of a unit, and it works great. Flip over shack isn't insulated. We run this on low in there, and it's super, super comfortable. You can sit in there all day, coldest of days, and this thing will just be chirping right along. Actually, while we're here, let's just test this. This is an old propane bottle from last year. Let's just test this thing to see if it actually is going to work this year. See if the pilot lights. Oop. Yep. Yep, there she goes. Burn off all that dust. Yep, she's lit. It's lit! Okay, flashers. Now, if you've been watching my channel long enough, you know I've had a couple different flashers. I used to use a Markham Showdown, and that was a really great unit. That was my first one that I ever had. It was a great one to start with because it had a vertical display on there. It was black and white, wasn't anything fancy at all, and bare bones. I caught fish on it. It was great. I decided to upgrade last year to the Vexilar, and you know, it's the traditional flasher here, and this is the FLX28. So it's basically the creme de la creme of Vexilar flashers. I'm not going to go into depth on this thing because I probably can't even tell you everything it does, but it is super versatile for shallow water, deep water. Split screen, you can zoom in on a certain, you know, water column, or just on the bottom, or have split screens and stuff. It's crazy. The technology is nuts. Have a little groove box here of teardrop jigs that we use for panfish mostly. This is the Pro Pack, so when you buy a Vexilar you have a bunch of different options you can get. This is the Pro Pack that comes with a flap over it, the bag, and a couple other things, and it comes with this little tackle box down in here, which I keep like a bunch of soft plastics in there to hook on my jig heads. Most of the time, if I'm using those little teardrop jigs, I'm tipping them with maggots, live maggots, and I use the little striker bait pucks. I'll link those down below. I use the crap out of those things. Every time I go, I have one of those in my pocket to keep my bait in. What we use for a bait bucket. So what I usually use if I'm going by myself, I just use a little Coleman cooler like this. It's nice and insulated. You can screw the top right off. You can fit quite a bit of bait in there, and usually that's all I ever need. If I'm going with a bunch of buddies, I'll use a larger 5-gallon bucket. We'll load that up full of bait, usually shiners or smelts, suckers, things like that. I also have another tackle box here with miscellaneous stuff in there. We've got a whole bunch of stuff in there. Mostly a bunch of junk, but it works. We use it. What I have here is my Lakewood ice rod case, and they make a bunch of different stuff, but for like rifles and fishing, things like that. But it's just a hard padded case here, and I have all my ice rods in here. So I'm going to show you what I got for rods here. Most of them are JT Outdoor Products rods, and if you guys want to actually pick up any of these rods, I have a promo code down in the description below. It's C Everett. I'll put it right here on the screen also, but if you look down below, there's a link to JT Outdoor Products, and you can check out any of their ice rods. They have some new ones coming out this year, and they also do open water rods. They use them for trout rods and stuff in the fall and the spring, so go check those out. But the promo code is down in the description below. Save you some money on some of these. It's a 34-inch Black Rain. I'm probably going to replace this rod with a longer one because I don't really use this all that much unless I'm like jigging for pike or something, because it's quite a stiff rod. But it's a super nice rod, so I might actually exchange that for a different one at some point. I don't really use it all that much. The rod that I use in place of that for like lake trout here in Maine is the JT Gold Digger, and it's probably, you know, pretty light for what a lot of guys are going to use for a lake trout rod. This is really kind of designed for like walleye and maybe even like bigger panfish and stuff, but I use it on lake trout. And you know, we don't get huge lake trout up here, although some lakes do, like Sebago and Moosehead and stuff. But I've caught some decent sized lake trout on this rod, and it works great. And I got that paired with a Sedona Shimano. I like Shimano a lot. I never had problems with their stuff. I just always have gotten Shimano. And these are the Cold Snap reel wraps, or reel bands. They just hold the reel on there. If you're using a heavier rod like this for bigger fish, you probably don't want to use the reel wraps. I think I'm going to replace these with the JT reel tape that they have, the Sure Grip reel tape this year, because you get a lot of flex when you get a big fish on there. You get a lot of flex in that, and we don't want that. So, but for panfish, those things are awesome. You can just move your reel around, have a lot of versatility there. The next rod, and this is by far my favorite rod. I've caught so many fish on this rod, it's not even funny, guys. It's just, let's be honest, it's not funny at all how many fish I've caught on this. I've caught some wallbanger perch, I've caught trout, I've caught pickerel, I've caught like literally every species that you could think of on this. It's the JT. This is the JT Panhandler 30-inch with spring bobber. So this is my panfish rod and light trout rod. So this is the only rod I'm using. I'm using those small little teardrop tungsten jigs. It's got a nice little spring bobber on there, so you can detect the bites. It's tied right into the blank itself. It's made out of nitinol, which doesn't, unlike other ones, it doesn't hold a memory when it gets cold. It still acts like an extension of the rod, and it allows you to detect up bites as well as, you know, regular down bites like this. But crappie, a lot of times will come up underneath it and you'll detect the up bite. And it's just a super sensitive rod. It feels so, I mean, this is the lightest rod I've ever used, and it loads up nice, and I've caught a ton of fish on it. You guys can go watch videos of me hammering perch on this thing. The reel I have it paired up with right now, I seem to switch the reels out on this a lot just because I like trying different stuff. But the reel that I have this paired up with now is the, I think it's a clam product, Spooler Elite it's called. And it's just a little like fly rod style, but it's got a multiplier, it's got a gear ratio to it. And I just got some light fluorocarbon on there. But this little rod is just, it's unreal. It's so much fun. If you're going out early ice, is a set of ice picks to carry with you. There's a whole bunch of different brands. I'll link these ones down below. These ones are pretty nice because they lock together. They're not hanging down in the way, and you know, when you're trying to you know, land some fish and stuff. But basically, they hang around your neck. If you go through the ice, you grab up here, pull them apart, pull them out like this, and then you claw yourself out. They got picks on the end. You claw yourself out of the ice to safety. Well, now that we've completely destroyed the garage here, I think that's pretty much all of my stuff. And like I said, I'm going to link down in the description everything that I can that we talked about here. And hopefully this gives you guys some ideas of what maybe you want to get or bring with you when you go ice fishing. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. Holy smokes.